y'all. Welcome back to the Sing Confidently, Live Creatively podcast. It is day 4 of the Breath Support Made Simple series. Okay, we have talked about how to develop breath support just like on a very basic level. First of all, we talked about day 1, we talked about how we need to focus our breath. Sorry, guys, I was trying to find my notes. We talked about focusing our breath, and then we talked about the what to do on the inhale, and then what to do on the exhale as a singer. So we're really getting into the nitty gritty, but keeping it so simple, hopefully. Today, we're going to talk about airflow versus air pressure. And we'll talk about specifically on the onset, which is when you're starting your note that you're holding out. And we'll touch a little bit into like holding it out as well. And tomorrow we will wrap up holding out that note with the right balance of airflow and air pressure and kind of bring it all together, bringing that back to like how we're focusing our sound and resonance, because it's all related, it's all connected. What you're doing at the vocal fold level is going to impact your resonance and how you are intentionally focusing your breath and your air and your voice, your sound. That's going to also affect your vocal fold, what's happening at the vocal fold level too. So like it's all connected. But yes, the purpose of this is to help break things down as simply as possible, because I have a group class happening on Monday. It's a virtual group class, Monday, June 8th, and I would love for you to join. That way you can implement this with whatever song you're singing. Like if you're working on a song, today we're going to talk about a song in particular. If you're working on a song, a pop song, an audition song for a musical theater show or something like that, I want to help you like figure out how to work on that note that you're having trouble holding out, or that you feel like it's sounding too airy or it's too heavy or whatever the issue is. I want to help you get into the nitty gritty of that particular song. And so, yeah, I would love to see you at that virtual class on Monday. Make sure you sign up at creativelybyestelle.com/collective. If you haven't registered already, make sure you go register. What's stopping you? Why not? This is an amazing opportunity to get coaching at a discounted rate in a group setting and connect with other singers. And even if you don't want to work on a song for yourself, you can learn so much. And by the end of the session, you're going to learn even more about how to start to develop your breath support, your breath control, and the way that you're managing your air as a singer. Okay, so let's get into today's. Today, we're talking about airflow versus air pressure. What I want you to know about this is that we as singers always want to think about balance. That's kind of the thing that we're all aiming for in general, is like coordination and balance, having a balanced voice, a voice where you can do different things that you want to do, and it's still your voice and you are not feeling like you're trying to, like you're pushing or you're straining. It's always there's always a level of balance and coordination of your muscles. And so that goes for airflow and air pressure as well. We never want, well, not that we never, but we might not always want too much airflow or too much air pressure unless we're intentionally doing so. But we want to think of it as like almost like a spectrum of like how pressured versus how flowy do I want this sound to be. And usually we want somewhere in the middle, but sometimes you might want more air pressure. Sometimes you want more airflow depending on the note. When it comes to holding out a long note, however, what gets us, and the reason that we are running out of air, which when you think about it makes so much sense, is that often we have too much flow. Too much air is escaping through our tiny little vocal folds. And even the air that we are releasing through the vocal folds to produce that note, it's not being focused. It's not resonating in the correct space, in that anterior space that we talked about in the first episode, right? We're not focusing our breath, and therefore we're running out of the air so quickly, it's not creating the sound that we want. So air flow, I want you to think about that as the flow of air between your vocal folds. Simple as that. It's all at the vocal fold level that we're talking about here. The flow of air passing through your vocal folds as they open and close, and as they vibrate to produce sound for you to phonate, okay? Air pressure is the amount of air that is underneath your vocal folds, or subglottal, beneath your glottis, right? The glottis is the space between your vocal folds. So the subglottal pressure is the air pressure below your vocal folds. So that air pressure, right? It's still air that is being released from your lungs, right? It's still traveling air. However, that means that your vocal folds are closed against the air. When your vocal folds are closed against the air, then and there's just a little bit of air escaping, right? There's still going to be air passing through. Otherwise, you can't phonate, you can't create sound. However, when you have more of that air pressure, there's just a little bit of air that is flowing, and therefore you're able to kind of balance, right, and manage the amount of airflow, right, and air release. You're not releasing as much at a time. Okay, so that's where you're able to kind of lean into, when you can lean into that cord closure, closing your vocal folds a little bit more, getting more of that air pressure underneath the vocal folds, that subglottal pressure. Then you're able to really just release the right amount of air at a time. So, but there's a balance. We don't want it to be too much air pressure because that can cause tension, right? Then your vocal folds are really shutting too much against the air, and that's not great either, depending on what you are going for, what sound you're going for, okay? Now, again, this is at the vocal fold level. Obviously, we talked about in the very first episode that it's not just about that. It's also about your focus, your resonance, how your sound is resonating. So the air that is passing through, how are we allowing that air to resonate in our mouths, in our throats, and even the nasal cavity as well. But for today, I want you to think about that airflow versus air pressure. And what's really important with this is what we call onset. Onset is the very start of a note. So when you're starting a note, we have kind of three general terms that we use in the voice world for onset. One is aspirate or breathy. It just means really airy. So you're starting like, right? You're starting the note with a lot of air. Hi, lots of air. Versus what we call a glottal. A glottal attack is sometimes what it's called, where your vocal folds are kind of slamming together and really closed against the air. There's still air passing through, but they're really, like, your vocal folds are tight. Okay, they're closed against that air. There's a lot of pressure. And that can cause a lot of tension. We really usually don't want to have a ton of glottal attacks, although that can be a stylistic choice in pop music and stuff like that. But that would be like, starting with that, like a lot of heaviness in your sound. And then there's what's called a sweet onset or a balanced onset. And that's a nice right amount of air pressure versus airflow. All right, so let's get to our exercise for today to kind of explore these things so that you can explore this when you are working on your song. And what's going to happen is you're going to notice that the way that you start your phrase, the way that you start your sound, is kind of the way that you carry on. So if you're starting with a really breathy onset, don't be surprised if you find yourself running out of air very quickly, because you're going to be releasing a lot of air, probably the rest of that phrase and the rest of that note that you're holding out, right? Versus more of a glottal versus a balanced onset. Okay, so here's what we would say for a breathy onset. I want you to think, I'm gonna just play real quick this exercise that I've done before with y'all. I think I did this in the other episode. The ha 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 exercise, right? Ha 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 ha. I want you to do it just like I did it just now, very breathy, and not worrying about making it staccato and short, just like really relaxed and breathy. Try that with me. Ha 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 ha. Try it again. Ha 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 ha. Do you feel like you could hold out that note for a long time at the end? I don't personally, right? Ha 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 ha. Like I've released all the air, it's gone. Now let's try it with what we call a door creak. Okay, as if you're a door that's creaking on its hinges. Ha, ah, ah. We're gonna take out the H. We're just gonna go ah, 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 ah. Okay, this does not sound cute. Also, I hope that my audio is coming through. Hold on. Okay, hopefully you guys were able to hear the ha, 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 ha. That was the first one. Now this one is the door creak one. Ah, 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 ah. Try that with me. And if you're a lower voice, you'll be down here. Sorry, guys. Not only does that not sound cute, it's also not feeling great in the throat, right? Your voice probably didn't feel so great doing that. I certainly did not feel great doing that. So that's a lot of pressure, right, on those notes. Now we want a balanced onset, which is why this exercise is helpful, because we usually do it staccato. So we do short notes. That short note is a great way to practice a balanced onset because it forces you to get the sound out without releasing too much air, but without being too pressy and too, heavy on that sound. So we're gonna bring the H back in and make it staccato. Here we go, let's try it together. Ha, 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 ha. Right? You see how we were able to start it with still a good amount of air because the H is there. If you want to decrease the air, you still can. But because the note is so short, it forces you to hit it with the right amount of air pressure and the right amount of airflow. Now let's do it one more time, taking that nice low breath that we talked about in a couple episodes ago and making sure that you're directing your sound right to the front of your mouth like we talked about in our first episode. And I want you to also make sure that you are... actually, that's all I want you to focus on for right now. Taking that low breath and then make sure that you're directing your sound right to the front of your mouth, okay? Let's try that together. 1, 2, ready, go. Ha, 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 ha. Right? This time, let's hold out the very last ha for as long as you can, okay? And see if you're able to hold it out a little bit longer this time now that you have that balanced onset. 1, 2, ready, go. Ha, 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 ha. Right? Do you see how compared to the very first one where it was super breathy, I could not hold it out that long at all, right? But this time, because I had the balanced onset, I was able to hold out that last note much longer, right? Okay, that's all I want you to practice for today, that balanced onset. Notice, are you starting the phrase with a lot of air or not a lot of air? The song that I wanted to give y'all to practice this with was just the phrase from Midnight Sun on A Never Ending Midnight Sun. I don't know what the key is. I want to do, I don't know what the original key is. Let's do it right here. A never ending midnight. So lower voices, you'll be down here. A never ending. There you go. A never ending. I'll be up here. A never ending. And just listen to me start it with an airy onset. You can sing along if you want to. I'm going to do airy first, and then I'm going to do glottal, heavy, and then I'm going to do balanced. Just so we can see. Here we go. Airy starting here. A never ending midnight sun. All right. So obviously not the best. Let's do glottal. A never ending midnight sun. Better, right? Very heavy though. Didn't feel super great in my voice, not gonna lie. Let me do it more balanced. A never ending midnight sun. That felt so much better. I was able to hold it out with the right amount of time, right? The right amount of length. And I started with that nice balanced sound. So that's what we can do when we practice that balance of airflow versus air pressure. I hope that helped. Let me know what y'all think. You guys can come to join the virtual group class on Monday. Come join the class. I would love so much to hang out with you and help you with whatever song you're working on, okay? You can go to creativelybyestelle.com/collective to join the virtual group singing class so we can make breath support super simple for whatever song you are working on. Have an amazing day, and I'm going to talk to y'all tomorrow for our last day of the series. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode and to this show. I'm so in awe of you for being here and showing up for your creative gifts. That takes courage. Don't forget to join the performing arts community on Facebook for support and inspiration as you continue on your journey. If this episode helped or inspired you in any way, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and share it with someone. It means so much. Thank you again, and don't forget to keep singing, acting, dancing, performing, and living creatively. Talk to you next time.